Hey, this is Planco Playbook here with your first video in a series of Building in Planet Coaster. In this series, I'll go ahead and teach you how to build buildings and all kinds of different things in Planet Coaster, including your roller coasters and other rides. Here's a video I've got where I am putting together a Main Street style building, and you'll see some changes come along here, like those doors won't stay. But the basic idea here was to make a building that looks like Main Street USA at a Disney park. So I went ahead with a red brick and made a facade here for you. You'll notice by the end of the video that there are no indoor seats or tables or anything like that because I decided I wanted to go ahead and let you guys make those decisions later. I did put a floor in for you. You can see I decided to make big windows on the side, so I used the storefronts for that and then added glass to those rather than using smaller windows or using arches or anything like that. I wanted to get that old-time look, and these square windows look just great. Here you can see I'm putting together some trim using pieces from wall trim, and you'll see I make these frames that I put around these windows that I made, and those frames are actually available on the workshop. The share code is down below in the description, so make sure you copy that share code and go download these if you would like, and you'll see those come together here pretty quickly. I was going through different pieces, deciding what I wanted to use, and decided on these right here. These had that kind of old town vibe to them, that turn of the century Main Street look, and I thought they looked pretty cool. So even though they're part of the mythology set, they worked out pretty well for the Main Street look. And so you can get those frames right off the workshop, link in the description, and those will you'll be able to place those on the storefront windows. Here I decided to go ahead and put a giant window up top here in the front, and you can see that big triangle shaped space up there on the second floor. That was to allow light to come in during the day. A lot of these older buildings, you know, they have the big windows like that, and I decided, why not? Let's use that to let in some light into the building during the daytime. And then I went ahead and resized the framing, similar framing for this window. Made it just a little bit different than the lower windows, and that went up on top. Here you can see I messed around with the bunting a little bit. I didn't really like the look of it, so you'll see I ended up changing that later from this kind of weird look that it has here. I think the Viking and mythology themes are great, but they didn't quite work for Main Street, so I ended up changing those a bit later to make them fit the Main Street look a little bit. Here I was kind of experimenting with how I wanted the top of the building to look, and decided to go with with just following the bottom floor size and shape. And so you can see I've got those going in there. And then I just ended up copying the roof later, or I'm sorry, the second floor, and then moving up to the roof and recoloring that to make the roof. So continuing that theme of the windows, I went ahead and used that for the upper floor windows and for the door, the frame around the door. You can see I messed around here with the windows and decided to go with the same size rather than making them smaller than I was going to. Getting those in place, and decided that instead of making these see-through windows, I was just going to make those part of the facade. When you do go to Disney parks, you'll notice that those upper windows they're usually just a facade. They don't usually lead to anything. Usually in those windows there's like projection equipment or audio equipment for when they do shows along Main Street. So I decided just to make them facades. You can always change that later, of course, if you download this and decide to use it. But on this one I did decide to make a frame and did my best to color match the other windows. And so here you can see I'm just getting that to fit. Next I went ahead and just made sure I had all the windows around the building, all except for the very back of the building, and then put the frames on as well, and then decided I was going to work more on the overall look of the building now, so I went ahead and put a flooring in here for you. It didn't quite fit, the ground wasn't level, so it was kind of coming through the floor, so you can see I went through there and just smoothed out the ground a little bit before adding the flooring. So I went ahead and alternated the floors in there to give it a better look, and then added I don't know, what do you call that, a molding or something like that goes at the bottom of the door? Something to step over. It just ended up looking better that way. And then here I changed out the doors, as you can see, resized those, and recolored them to kind of be a little more neutral to fit the bottom floor theme, the windowsills and all that fit there. Here I was experimenting with the path tools, trying to get the right type of path, but I'm not like super experienced with the pathing yet. And so I went ahead and messed with it a bit and eventually figured out, okay, this is what I need to do. You can see some weird mistakes there. What I needed to do to get it to make a path that fits exactly for the door. So you can add your other paths coming in from your main street in through the door. And then you won't have guests walking through doorways, through the actual doors or the frame of the building. You might be better with path tools than me. So here you can see I'm adding more trim to the building just to kind of fill it out a little bit and make it look not so plain, and making some adjustments there to it, and decided to go ahead and adjust those and make them look just right. And you'll notice the corners aren't perfect yet, but that's okay. We do fix that later with some more trim and other things that'll come in and fill in those corners. Here I added that to the roof as well. And then while doing that, I was thinking, well, that's not enough on the roof. It looks a little plain. So I copied what I did on the windowsills, flipped them over, and just put those up there to kind of fill out the rooftop and make it look a little better. When you do go to Disney parks, you notice these rooftops are quite decorative. They're not just plain, flat. So I decided to add those trims and make it look better. Here's where I decided to copy the second floor and just bring that up, or I'm sorry, the bottom floor, and just bring that up. Then I recolored it so that it would look more like, if you're looking from above, what a real theme park would look like. Added the air conditioning units, and then a roof hatch, and of course, to make sure that the workers are safe when they go up there, added some safety bars for the workers to use, and that ended up working out pretty good. So then I decided, you know what, this building wouldn't be complete if I didn't put some stuff over the front here, so I did. And you'll see later on I make adjustments to that because it looks a little off right there, and I did notice that later. Here I was going to go with the stone look down the corners, which would be kind of cool, but then I was like, nah, it would be too repetitive, I think. So I decided if it's got to be repetitive, at least make it look, make it look nice. So I went ahead and used these, what do you call those? Pieces of lumber? Yeah, whatever they're called. And I colored them to kind of match everything else, and then put them in all the corners, and then decided that they could also go in between the building, in between the windows of the bottom floor. So I ended up doing that later, which you'll see later. I took these little arches, resized them after I decided on the right arches to use, and then recolored them to kind of match a little bit more. I didn't make them the exact color of the window frames because, I just wanted a little bit different look and, kind of add a little bit of additional color to it. And then to fill in that red brick and make it look not so weird, I took these other bricks, recolored them as well to give a little bit of contrast to the building, to the windows and the window frames and the trim. And you can see I fixed that up pretty well. Here you can see I'm adding some little banners, or whatever you call those, little flags, to the upper floors there, or to the, whatever that thing is called, the green thing at the top, the I can't think today, but you can see I did that and then recolored them red to kind of match. Here I wasn't satisfied with the way the lighting looked, so I end up changing that, and you'll see how I do that later. I decided to take these aqua lights, recolor them to that nice green to match the theme of the windows, and as you can see I added those to the outside of the building, and I made all of those like a nice soft orange color later. There you go. You can see I make some adjustments here, and I took off a couple of things and centered it a little bit better. Added some lighting sconces next to the front doors, just to have lighting there. Then I took these aqua lights for not only accent, but for light as well, just to add more light to the building, and you'll see that effect later on in the video. Here I decided to add these little balcony things to the upper floor windows, just to kind of fill out the building a little more and make it look not quite so plain. And then of course some balcony rails that I resized and then put on all the upper floor windows. And we'll add a little bit more stuff to those later too, because even those made it, it was still a little bit plain looking. And so I dressed those up a little bit here in a minute. And so here you can just see I'm getting these copied and moved over. And so now the upper floor windows have those. Then here is where I added more trim in between the windows of the bottom floor. I decided not to go to the top floor because they'd go right through those lighting sconces and it looked like a little too much. You don't want to go too busy. Here I was experimenting with how I wanted to dress up the windows a little bit, and ultimately decided to go with these. And yes, they're all the same, I know. You can always change that later on your own if you wish, but decided to go ahead and go with these just for an overall look for now. And of course you can always change those later. Here I was just readjusting those and then adding some bunting around the top of the building. And you'll see when I get up above the main door, I didn't like the way it looked, the way I was doing it, so I ended up changing the way I did the bunting above the door, which you'll see in a moment. Here you can see I'm just adding a little touches there to the corners and make it look a little bit better, a little more decorative. You can kind of see I zoom in and out a lot. I zoom out because back when I was taking art classes, you always learn to look at things from a distance, because sometimes if you're too close to it, you don't see everything as the whole picture. So piece of advice there, if you're building your buildings, your rides, your queue areas, whatever you're building, zoom way out every now and then and just take a look at it from a distance and see how it looks, and you'll get a different perspective and end up making changes later. Here's where I was experimenting above the doorway there and ended up not really liking that very much. So you can always make a different change to it, but I mean, it ends up looking okay. You can see I add a few more accents here to the roof trim, and then here I'm making a roof trim on the very top using fence pieces, which I kind of sunk into the roof a little bit. And you see that a lot on the Main Street buildings. When you go to Disney parks, you'll see the roof trim on the very top on some of the buildings, and it just adds a little bit more, gives it more character. So you can see I did that there. Added a flag to the top, recolored it to fit the theme. And then over here you can see I decided to add the lighting, but this time I did a little bit differently. And then to give it that Main Street look, I went ahead and recolored those lights here in a moment, which you'll see once I get them all in place. Here you can kind of see it in the evening, what it looks like, and then I recolored these lights to give them that soft, warm look, because buildings like this don't generally have super bright lights, especially not like a brilliant white light. So I changed these to that saddle brown, which gives it a nice soft orange glow, and that really made it look a lot better. And here's where I recolored these lights to the red and white look, kind of like you see on Main Street in the Disney parks. Added some lighting sconces, turned them upside down, and then you can see here I added some uplighting to the trim of the building just to highlight the corners and the trim on the building and give it a better overall look. Added an overhead light here, again took an aquatic light, recolored it, and then recolored the light itself. Added the Latte Love there, and of course the coffee cup, and resized those to fit better. And then decided to put a light up here, experimented with different fixtures until I decided on this one here. Gave it that same warm look. So here what did I do here? Oh, this is where I added to the balcony trim. Just putting the flowers on the top here, kind of like you see in the Disney parks. You'll see that a lot in the upper floors of these facades where they add flowers and different things to make it look nice. So you can keep those colors, of course, or you can always recolor the flowers if you'd like when you download this later. And then here I went ahead and took an overall look. Here's where the video slows down. You'll see this at different times of day and night, so you can get an overall look of how this building will look when it's lit up. And you can see it's just got that beautiful, soft, warm look to it, where it's very welcoming and inviting. And of course, there's no light inside yet. You can always add that later when you download this. And this is available on the workshop. I did upload this blueprint, and just like the window trim, this blueprint is available in the workshop. The share code is down below in the description, so go ahead and use this building as much as you'd like. And there you go. Here it is at different times of day and night, so you can get an overall look of how the building looks. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe, and make sure that you let me know in the comments below what you would like to see me build, whether rides, buildings, or anything else. And of course, everything will be shared in the workshop. Thanks for watching. Planco Playbook. We'll see you in the next video.